Steph, Caregivers Chronicles Unveiled, the critical care unit for caregivers. Real conversations, real care, real healing. Doc Steph, I see your hands holding the weight of 100 plans. Soft in the dark, strong in the light. You make it feel a little more right. Take a breath.
Hey, purpose is not always found in the reason we begin caring for someone. Sometimes purpose is revealed through the person we become because we cared. Can we still see the purpose behind what we do? Well, welcome to Caregiver Chronicles Unveiled. This is episode 10, Caregiving and Purpose. I am your host, Doc Steph. And whether caregiving entered your life through a profession, a family responsibility, or an unexpected circumstance, there comes a moment when almost every caregiver begins asking deeper questions. Am I making a difference? Does what I do matter? How do I continue when the work feels endless? And what is all of this producing in me as a person? Those questions are often the beginning of a conversation about purpose. It requires us to look beyond our daily responsibilities and consider the meaning behind them. We often think of purpose as something that explains where we are going in life. However, caregiving reveals another possibility. Purpose is not only about where life is leading us, it is also about what life is doing within us. So rather than being a destination we eventually reach, purpose often unfolds through ordinary acts of faithfulness as we care for another person. Along the way, caregiving changes us from the inside out. And over time, we begin to recognize the person we have become. So before we go any further, let me be clear about something. Purpose is not pretending that every moment of caregiving is enjoyable. Purpose is not denying the frustration, disappointment, grief, or fatigue that often accompany this journey. And purpose is understanding the significance of what we are doing, even during seasons when challenges seem greater than the rewards. So, if purpose is not found in perfect circumstances, where is it found? I believe the answer begins with understanding that caregiving changes more than the person receiving our care. It changes us. So, one reason purpose can be difficult to recognize is that it rarely reveals itself in a single defining moment. More often, it unfolds quietly through experiences that seem ordinary while we are living them. As caregivers, our attention is naturally drawn to what needs to be done today. We become focused on getting through the moment, making the best decision we can, and simply remaining faithful to the responsibilities before us. There is little opportunity to step back and consider what those experiences may be producing within us over time. That is why purpose can be so easy to overlook. We often expect it to arrive as a clear destination or a life changing moment. Instead, it quietly unfolds through countless ordinary moments of faithfulness that rarely seem extraordinary at the time. Perhaps it is why purpose is often clearer in hindsight than in the present. It is only when we pause and look back that we begin to recognize that those ordinary moments were accomplishing something far greater than we realize. At its core, caregiving is an expression of human connection. While caregiving could, certainly involves responsibilities, those responsibilities are always connected to a person. Every decision we make, every act of service we provide, and every moment we choose to remain present reminds another human being that they do not have to face their circumstances alone. That is great news. No one really wants to be alone. And in many ways, caregiving calls us to see beyond a person's illness, diagnosis, disability, or limitations. It reminds us that every individual possesses inherent worth and deserves to be treated with dignity, compassion, and respect. Whether someone is improving, declining, or simply learning to live with a new reality, our presence communicates something powerful. You still matter. Perhaps that is one of caregiving's greatest lessons. It teaches us that some of the most meaningful contributions we make in another person's life cannot always be measured by outcomes. Sometimes the greatest difference is we make it um, sometimes the greatest difference we make is found in our willingness to remain present, preserve dignity, and faithfully walk alongside another person through a season they could never have chosen for themselves. While we invest in another person, or while with while we invest in another person's well-being, something else is happening that often goes unnoticed. Caregiving is quietly influencing us from the inside out. Without realizing it, our perspectives begin to change. We become more aware of the struggles others carry. We develop a greater appreciation for moments that once seemed ordinary. We begin to understand that strength is not always found in independence, but often in our willingness to depend on one another. So, caregiving also teaches us lessons that cannot be learned from a book or a classroom. It teaches patience when progress is slow. It teaches humility when we cannot fix every problem. It teaches compassion when another person's suffering becomes personal rather than distant. Over time, these experiences become part of who we are. Perhaps this is why purpose is often difficult to recognize while we are living it. We are so focused on helping someone else through their journey that we fail to notice how profoundly the journey is changing us. Perhaps that is one of the reasons purpose can feel so difficult to recognize while we're living it. We naturally measure our lives by milestones, accomplishments, and visible progress. Yet, some of life's most significant work takes place quietly, beyond our immediate awareness. It is often only when we pause to reflect that we begin to see what was happening all along. We recognize moments that once seemed routine but now carry greater meaning. We begin to understand that caregiving is never only about helping another person navigate a difficult season. It was also preparing us in ways we could not fully appreciate at the time. So, looking back, we may discover that our greatest growth did not occur during life's easiest moments. It often emerged through the challenges that required us to remain present, preserve when we were tired, and continue caring even when the path ahead was uncertain. Perhaps that is one of the unexpected gifts of caregiving. That's one way to put it. While we invest our lives in another person's well-being, caregiving quietly reveals strengths, values, perspectives within us that we may never have discovered any other way. Sometimes purpose is not fully understood while we are living it, but for me, that realization did not come all at once. It came slowly as I began looking back over my own caregiving journey. After caring for my mother for 15 years, I thought the hardest part of my caregiving journey was over. I did not expect, I did not know what to do next. So my question became, what's next? I had no idea how difficult it would be to think beyond caregiving. Purpose did not hit me at the beginning of this journey because I thought my purpose was leading me somewhere else. I did not know that my life was going to lead me to be a caregiver for 15 years, and I struggled with it. I felt like I lost the best years of my life. The entire time, my prayers were, why me? How long? And Lord, I'm tired. When caregiving ended, I asked, what now? And my mind was blank. I was still ready to jump into the next crisis. The worry I had while caring for my mom remained, but I was also listening for her to call my name, not realizing I no longer had to worry about her. My mind had not yet caught up. I was still living as though I needed to be ready at a moment's notice. I eventually sought professional counseling because I realized I needed help readjusting to life beyond caregiving. I thought I could simply just jump back to the life I had before, but I soon discovered that there was no returning to that person I had once been. As most of you may know, I was a chaplain before caring for my mom. So an opportunity presented itself to work as a chaplain in a mental health hospital. This is where I discovered that caregiving had changed me. I connected well with the patients, more than likely because I was a patient. I took this opportunity while I was still in the midst of exhaustion and pain. In addition to my degrees, I returned to grad school and pursued trauma crisis counseling. However, my own experiences had given me a deeper understanding of suffering, vulnerability, and the quiet strength it takes to face difficult days. Caring for others once again became part of my own healing. It helped me re enter the world with a renewed appreciation for compassion, not simply as something I offer to others, but as something that had been refined within me through my own journey. I understood exhaustion. I understood pain. I understood what it felt like to keep showing up when everything inside of you was tired. It helped me to re-enter the world, rediscover the work I loved, and recognize that compassion had never left me. It has simply been refined. That is why I believe caregiving changes us in ways we do not recognize while we're living it. Sometimes we only see its purpose when we have enough distance to look back and understand who we have become. So I want to encourage you with Romans chapter 5, verses 3 through 5. And it says, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. So, one of the things I appreciate about this scripture is that Paul does not deny suffering. Paul is the author. He does not pretend difficult experiences are easy or enjoyable. Instead, he helps us to understand that something can be produced through them. As caregivers, we often spend so much time focusing on what we are doing for others that we don't recognize what the experience is doing within us. We see the sacrifices, we feel the exhaustion, we wrestle with the uncertainty. Yet, Paul reminds us that these experiences are not without purpose. He tells us that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, and character produces hope. In other words, the journey is producing something. That does not mean every difficult moment makes sense while we are living it. It does not mean we will choose every hardship we face, but it does remind us that our experiences are not empty. They are contributing to the people we are becoming. Perhaps that is why purpose is often easier to recognize when we look at it or when we look back. We begin to see that the patience, compassion, understanding, and strength we carry today did not appear overnight. They were developed through seasons that challenged, stretched, and required more from us than we thought we could give. So if you are struggling to see purpose in your caregiving journey, remember this: you may not yet see everything that is being produced within you. Some lessons reveal themselves slowly. Some changes become visible only with time and reflection. But that does not mean the work is not taking place. Sometimes the evidence of purpose is found in the person you are becoming. So, as we close today's conversation, I want to leave you with one thought. Perhaps purpose is not something we find once and never question again. Perhaps it is something we continue to discover as we reflect on the journey God has allowed us to walk. If you are in the middle of caregiving today, you may not yet see everything that this season is producing within you. That is okay. Some lessons take time to become visible. Some answers only come when we have enough distance to look back and see how far we have come. Wherever you are on your caregiving journey, do not underestimate the value of what you are doing or the person you are becoming. Every act of compassion, every sacrifice, every difficult decision, and every moment you choose to continue caring is contributing to a story that is still being written. Perhaps, like me, one day you will look back and realize that caregiving was not simply asking something of you, it was also giving you something. It was preparing your heart, deepening your compassion, and revealing strengths you never knew you possessed. So thank you for allowing me to share this journey with you on Caregivers Chronicles Unveiled. I am Doc Steph, and I look forward to continuing this conversation with you as we explore the many dimensions of caregiving together. Peace and blessings.
Real conversations, real care, real healing.